It is Friday, Marianah Lourens with Art and Entertainment. Ja, dit is Marianah Lourens met Kuns en Vermaak en ons is weer hier by die Athenaeum. En ek wil jou gou net herinner dat Artek, hulle het hulle kinderkunsklub wat elke Vrydag gaan gebeur van nou af en dit is om 2:30 tot 3:30. Dit is natuurlik in Birdstraat. Dit is 'n minimum van R5 per kind per sessie, so dit is glad nie te erg nie. 7 tot 15 jaar oud kindertjies. Gaan gerus na Artek. Yes, Artek. They present Kids Art Club. It's drawing, it's painting, it's craft, and it's fun. The 7 to 15-year-old kids are welcome. It's 15 children per session. So please, you need to book. The number there, 086 274 7708. 36 Bird Street in Central, and it's on Fridays from 2:30 to 3:30. I'm just going to give you that number again, 086 274 7708, and that's for your art, for your kiddies, and it's every Friday. And then Rina Dippenaar, her lessons in piano, flute, recorder, guitar, music, theory, and Afrikaans. Please contact her on 083 398 5196. She'll give you lessons either person to person with a mask on, of course, or online. Ja, asseblief kontak vir Rina Dippenaar vir jou klavier, jou fluit, jou recorder, jou gitaar, jou musiekteorie en Afrikaans. Ja, sy's Onnie al vir 28 jaar en sy wag vir jou. Sy sal vir jou klasse gee, aangesig tot aangesig of online. En haar nommer is 083 398 5196. Dit is 083 398 5196. En dan wil ek jou net weer herinner dat Stepping Out nog steeds daar is vir al jou fantasie kostuumbenodigdhede. Ons kan nou dalk partytjies hou net solank daar nie te veel mense is nie, so as jy wil mooi uitrusting hê, of 'n toerusting, wat jy dit ook al wil noem, of net vir daai mooi foto's wat jy wil neem, skakel asseblief vir Rose vir 'n afspraak 072 906 1977. Dit is 072 906 1977 vir 'n afspraak. Dit is 6 Buckingham Road, oor kan die provinsiale hospitaal. Yes, for your fancy dressing up, your photo shoots, your family photos, your special birthdays, your graduation, whatever. Please call Rose for a nice costume, 072 906 1977. You have to make an appointment. And then the PE Industry Night is your chance to reconnect, to recharge, to reach out with GNS at the Savoy. And they ask these questions. Are you a theatre maker, an actor, playwright, a director, a technician, a vocal director, choreographer in Nelson Mandela Bay, or even a financial guru? They need you because monthly industry evenings to network, support, collaborate, and create new opportunities. And it's every first Monday from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Savoy Theatre. Booking is essential, so you need to WhatsApp Kaylin on 071 076 0980. Ja, asseblief, as jy een van daai dinge is, 'n akteur of 'n wat jy ook al is, gee jy musiek, gee jy klasse vir stem, vir praat, vir dans hier in ons area, dan is die maandelikse industrie aand by die Savoy vir jou, want dit is netwerk, dit is lekker get-togethers, en jy kan gerus gaan en sien waar jy jou gewig kan insit. Miskien het jy bietjie iets wat jy daar kan bydra, soos om finansiële planne saam te stel, sulke dinge. Dit is alles benodig, want ons kunste gaan weer lewe, en ons weet by die Savoy is ons absoluut lewendig. skakel gerus vir Kylen by 071 076 0980. Dan kan julle daar die afspraak maak vir die eerste maandag van elke maand. Industry evening to network and support, etc., etc. And then, yes, Savoy Theatre is alive and well. Anything goes Sundays, open mic for all performing artists in Nelson Mandela Bay or Tebega or Port Elizabeth, whatever you want to say. Actors, firefighters, singers, I don't think firefighters, fire breathers. Actually, I've got Rose-Christie here with me, and I'm sure he can go and do some fire breathing there. Music, dancers, poets, all welcome. Every Sunday from 1 o'clock till 6 o'clock. So that's a nice afternoon. The venue's got a bar, the V-bar, that's the cash bar there, and there will be food available. Entry is free, and there's off-street parking. Ja, anything goes Sundays. Dit is op 'n Sondagmiddag, lekker van 1 uur tot 6 uur by die Savoy Theater, wat jy ook al wil doen, open mic vir elke ding wat jy kan of wil doen. Gaan gerus na die Savoy en nou is ek by Rose-Christie, Mystery Ghost Productions. Mr. Mystery Ghost Tour. Hi Mark, it's so nice to have you here.
Nice to be back again. In my hometown, I've been here for a little while this year because of COVID, because we haven't been able to run the tours. And we've also come up with a very new concept now.
I know, it's like a going to the drive-in thing. But before we get there, I just want to say we missed you.
Thank you.
In PE.
I missed you. It's my hometown.
Exactly. But before COVID...
I'm still not really sure how to pronounce...
just remember the k and then the e and the bega.
So I was thinking maybe we should just do it in Cape Town.
Yes. Well, it's like those booking, the guys who want to book for...
Is it actually a Xhosa name? Because it should be a San name, shouldn't it?
It comes probably from the San.
Because they
but
were
let's
here
not
first.
speculate there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the clicks come from the San.
They do,
the
yes.
koi.
It's very interesting. And they've got a very interesting mythology. There's a lot of ghost sort of and spirit stories to do with them as well, which we also use.
Lovely stories, stories. But now what I want, the point I'm trying to make here is that I saw online your first edition of your ghost.
Jaunt.
Your jaunt. Was
yes.
it your jaunt? Yes.
Yes.
And it was so good. And you were saying you were working on the second edition, which is it's.
Oh, that was the video you saw.
Yeah,
the online video.
Yeah, when we couldn't go anywhere.
That's
when
right.
we had to watch everything and do everything online.
Yes, that's right. And we did the online videos, which we're still going to be doing, called Ghosts of South Africa online videos. And then we're also going to do the international market with a series called Seriously Supernatural. And I've got involved with one of the leading parapsychologists in the world, or paranormalists, Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, who wrote the book 7 Experiments That Could Change the World. And he also wrote a lovely book called The Science Delusion, which actually challenges Richard Dawkins' atheist book called The God Delusion. And it really is a fantastic book.
Interesting.
Yes, he's challenging all this materialism and saying, well, you know what? There is an afterlife, there are spirits, there are all these things. We've got to stop being materialists, which was what old Dawkins was promoting, of course. And, you know, even on our tours, we tell people about all the stuff. In fact, I've had quite a few people that came up to me over the years and they said, you know, Mr. Christie, they never say Rose-Christie, I don't know why. We were atheists before we came on your tour, but now that we've been on your tour, we're no longer atheists anymore.
There is a God.
Yes,
indeed.
There's an afterlife.
And there's an afterlife. And
consciousness, the hard problem of consciousness has now been, has come to the front with a man called David Chalmers. And the materialist scientists are now having a look at all of this sort of stuff, and they can't answer it. because there is consciousness out there, you know.
It's really stirred
It has. It really,
consciousness, and people
yes.
are thinking, and people are beginning to say, oh, I better fix something in my life
Yes.
and make right, because maybe the end is coming soon. There are predictions. There are, if you read Revelations in the Bible, you
Yes,
think,
yes,
like
you
it's
wonder, hey.
happening tomorrow, maybe the end of the world. We can take nothing with us, can we? And in the end, the material stuff will just go, and
That's
God didn't
right.
intend for us to be so material bound, did He?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I
it
agree
didn't
with
make us to even need clothing.
Absolutely.
They grabbed for the fig leaves after the terrible things they did. But listen, now, I'm looking at this picture of this house.
Yes.
And this, of course, is one of the pictures you had on Facebook.
Yes, it's
Which one is that?
It's one of the general sort of photographs that we
Of
use
an old house.
of
It looks very spooky.
a very haunted house and so forth. Our main logo, if you go to our website, which is www.mysteryghostproductions.co.za, that is actually a castle, and it's called the Erasmus Castle, which is in Pretoria.
Bronkhorstspruit was called Erasmus. That was the Erasmus farm before.
Oh, really? Yes, that's right. Well, there were a lot of the Erasmus people from the Groot Trek, of course. Out of all the different haunted houses around the country in our different tours that we do around the country, I would say the Erasmus Castle is the most iconic or archetypal spook house. In fact, there was a movie there with Frederick Burgers and Gordon Mulholland, I think it was in the 60s, called Hier's Ons Weer, Here We Are Again. It's on YouTube, by the way, in black and white. And
Let's go and look.
you must go and look. It's a very spooky house indeed. But of course, Port Elizabeth, where we were doing the tour on the 13th of March. And don't you like the idea of the 13th?
Absolutely. I was looking at it and thinking, this tour is on the 13th.
Yes. People are not. Do you know why there's a superstition of the 13, by the way?
Please tell us, because you're busy with your ghost stuff.
Yeah. Well, it was because there was the thing of Jesus around. There's many stories, okay? But you were talking about the Bible earlier on, so I'll just give you that story, and then we need to tell all the others. There were 13 people around the table, so it was unlucky, you see, because Judas betrayed Jesus. That's right. And I don't know if you remember, but Linda Louise Swain and myself formed a professional company, and we did the national premiere of Jesus Christ Superstar in South Africa, way back, 1984.
It was way back, and I wasn't back in PE yet then. I only came back in 87, I think, and so I just missed it, but I heard all about it, and I saw, of course, all your photos and stuff, because we've walked the road, Mark, you and I.
We have, and Gary Bryden, who played Jesus, he was part of that group called Gary and Spider, who were the cabaret duo. And they were telling jokes and playing guitar and singing, and you know that he actually was so touched by the show that he became a pastor.
Yes,
he became
I
a
love
pastor.
the Jesus Christ Superstar production. Yes. It is so wonderful, and I've seen different films of how they made it, even in different settings.
Settings and more modernized.
Modernized with motorbikes and stuff like that.
All sorts of things.
Yes, all sorts of things. But
well, we've modernized too. You know, I mean, with our ghost tours now, we've got ghost hunting apps. So when people come on the tours, you see, we are an entertainment production. We do not call up spirits or summon up. People
may think that, but it's
not.
No,
that's not what we do. We are an entertainment production.
You tell people about real stuff.
Yes, but what we do allow them to do is they can download onto their cell phones a ghost hunting tool. And then it has an EMF meter, an electromagnetic field meter, which spikes and shows where there is an entity. And it has an EVP recorder, an electronic voice phenomena recorder, which can pick up what the entities are saying. But we say to everybody, please do not call anything up, because once you open that door, you can't always close it. If somebody wants to speak to you from the other side, they will speak to you, but don't call on them. Don't call them up, you see. Call Ghostbusters rather. So we modernized on that, and then we've had to change. We used to have the mystery ghost bus, which we still have, but
we've been on several times.
Yes, we still have that. We only run it for groups now, because it's become very expensive for buses. So now we only do it for group tours. And also with the COVID thing, we have as a company taken the attitude that we don't want people too close to one another. So even if they did have to, as a group, hire the coach, and it's an 80-seater, we would only put 30 people onto it because of social distancing.
Very spacey.
That's right. Usually there's more than 30 people. So we came up with this thing called a jaunt. Now, what is this? Well, my son and I, Kyle, some years ago, we in Parys, in the Free State, started a thing called Ghost Weekends Away, where people came for the whole weekend, and on the Friday night, they came along and we had a fire and we did ghost stories round the fire. And then on the Saturday, everybody got into their cars in convoy, okay, and we did a ghost tour through Parys. We then started it in Cullinan, and then we've started it in Johannesburg and Cape Town, and now we're going to, for the first time, it'll only be once this year, on the 13th of March, do it in Port Elizabeth.
So, by the way, tomorrow.
Yes,
it's
tomorrow. That's right.
Tomorrow.
You're right. Tomorrow. And we're starting at 4:00 at the News Cafe, our starting venue at the Boardwalk Casino, and people come and eat and have a drink. And then
at
we
the
start.
Boardwalk?
Yes, at the News Cafe.
Because
yes.
it's not all being renovated at the moment, so you just have to find your way to the News Cafe.
Yeah, the News Cafe, yes. And we'll redirect people if necessary and whatever. And then we start at 5 and end at 10. So it's long before curfew, but it's still dark enough and all of that. And then everybody uses their cars, and people bring picnic baskets with them. Isn't that a nice idea?
Fabulous.
It really, and they snack along the way. And it's not that different from the bus, because when we stop at all the outdoor venues, we all climb out of our cars, and I still do all of the out of the vehicle stops.
So you still do your stories.
I still do all the stories. The only few stories are told in the car by a fun person that's in the car, whoever's in your car. We give you a little mini script. And some of the drive-by venues, that person reads it out. So that person, that's kind of interactive, really, because that person gets a chance to become like an actor or an actress for a little bit of time, and everybody has a bit of a giggle. Or they can put on a voice if they want, or just read ordinarily, it doesn't matter. So it's fun for them as well, And it's almost like a mystery car rally, because we're all in convoy following one another and all that. And then we all stop at a certain place, all get out and go and visit a certain building. And then I tell my stories, or at one place at the bottom of Target Kloof, we do the dowsing rods, where we, in Afrikaans, waterways.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah, so they cross when you go towards the water.
The water, yes.
And the people absolutely love that.
Oh, but it's just the water presence that makes
it move.
It's
the electromagnetic field that's around.
I'm not at all a science or even technical by any chance, but I know that.
Yeah,
it's not too hard to figure out, because that is just the way that the earth was made.
Everything has force fields around
force fields.
And we have 5 force fields around our bodies. One of them is the electrostatic force field. I explained this on the tour. For instance, you touch a doorknob and you get a little shock, and that's an electrostatic force field. Or you take your jersey off over your head and you get that static, And we have 5 force fields around our bodies. We even have one in our brains called the electrochemical force field. And I say to people, now, when they do an EEG, which is an electroencephalogram, they don't stick the needle into your brain. They just put pads on the outside of your brain, right? And so that way they can measure the force field around your brain. Now, these 5 force fields are collectively called the bioplasmic force field. And we know from quantum physics, I explain all of this, and I do demonstrations, by the way, I bend keys and all of that, I do psychokinesis, but that's your soul, that's your spirit. And in quantum physics, we know there's a thing called the first law of thermodynamics, or the law of conservation, which says energy can never be created, energy can never be destroyed, energy can only be transferred. So we know that when we pass on one, and by the way, I never say pass away, I say pass on.
Exactly.
When we pass on one day, that energy has to go somewhere, because it can't be created, it can't be destroyed, it can only be transferred or transformed, you see. And that's why people will come up to me and say to me, gosh, we never thought of that. We're no longer atheists anymore. And we believe in ghosts now as well.
Especially if they are scientific in their thinking already.
Already. And and that's another thing. Not all scientists are atheists.
No,
I found a lot. I mean, I'm dealing with Dr. Rupert Sheldrake now, and soon to deal with a man called Gene Radin, who's in America. It's quite amazing what they found out about telepathy now. For the first time in the past decade, they use that EEG machine on your head to measure the brain waves, which are transmitted to the pads. Now, that means that there's a gap, a little gap between your brain and the pads. So there is a thought transmission over a small distance. And they've now hooked us up to computers where they've got somebody else as the receiver. And if I'm not mistaken, it's either 72 or 76% of the people that are receivers get the correct words. Now, that's more than chance.
It's a huge percentage.
Yes. So in research methodology, we call that reliability and validity testing, and it's more than chance. So for the first time, science, which was so materialistic before, now is showing that this thought transference is possible. And it's now it's getting to the stage where you will be able to think of a word, and they say in a few years' time, you can just think of a word and it will appear on your cell phone screen. You won't have to type it out. Now, this is starting to challenge the hard problem of consciousness. And people love this on the tours, because I'm not just telling the ghost stories, I'm also telling them stuff about science now, and doing demonstrations like the key bending, the dowsing rods. And there's a thing I do with some cards where I say to people, instead of picking a card, just think of one. And they think of it, and when I open up the deck, that one that they thought of is turned upside down. And in case they think it's a trick, I show them the back of the card, and it comes from another deck. So it comes from a red back deck instead of a blue back deck. So that's done before the tour, you see. And the people love all that. And then we've also got the entertaining bits. For instance, in the graveyard, we've got a little thrilling, well, you've been there, so you know, we have a little thrilling visual and all of that. So we try to put quite a lot into it. We pack a lot into the whole tour.
So tomorrow is going to be so exciting.
Yes, and it's a pity it's only once off for the year.
Yeah.
But
hopefully
it's going to be full. Definitely. You can't believe.
Do you have a limit to how many cars?
Well, the limit is that we can only go up to 100 people. We can only go up to 100 people.
Okay, because when they get out of the car, then...
Absolutely. Then they all have to wear their masks anyway. No social distancing. We have our sanitizers and all that sort of thing. But people can, people can still come along and pitch and pay on the last moment, because some people forget to pitch. Can you believe that?
I do believe it.
So it's 350 Rand, but they have to pay in cash because we don't use a card machine. So anytime from 4 o'clock onwards tomorrow, and they can come on the mystery ghost jaunt in their car with their picnic basket, and we'll give them the little script, and then we do the in and the out of the car stops as we go along, and see all the wonderful haunted buildings. People don't even know when you travel around Park Drive. They look at Charlie Crib Nursing Home. That was the most prestigious hotel of South Africa. 300 rooms with
And
a
there are
sprung.
ghosts there.
And there's 4 of them, nogal.
Listen, now, of course, they have to go to the boardwalk.
Yes, to the News Cafe.
Yeah, so make your way to the News Cafe.
I like that.
And you're going to leave at 4? Or
No, they come at 4 so they can have eat and drink, and then we start the jaunt at 5.
So the jaunt starts at 5.
And ends at 10. So it's 2 hours before curfew.
It's way
before.
enough time to get home.
Yes, absolutely.
And to enjoy.
And here's something nice about Port Elizabeth. It's the only tour that we have in the country where when we get to the graveyard, the buildings that we've gone to around Port Elizabeth, most of the people that have passed on, their graves are in the graveyard that we go to. Now, that's not the case on our other tours in Cape Town and in Durban and Joburg, Cullinan, Pretoria, and so forth. But it is for Port Elizabeth, which is rather nice.
That's interesting.
It is interesting.
It's an interesting fact.
It very much is. I mean, like John Daveron, for instance, he had that lovely park villa, which the park villas were all around Park Drive, and there were about 12 or 14 of them, and they were huge mansions. The one called Knockfiona is the one he owned, and Knockfiona is an Irish name. And what is that called today? St. George's Prep School.
Okay, so there's an interesting fact, and that's one of the also interesting walks.
Yes, because they allow us to go inside the grounds.
Yes, I remember that.
That's right.
So we have to say now, see you tomorrow, because it's going to be such fun.
Yes.
And I just want to say again, make your way to the News Cafe, get there by about 4, and be ready to roll by 5.
Fantastic.
And take your picnic basket.
Yes, put little snacks
Bring
in
your
it.
350 rand, please, because there are no card machines, so bring it in cash. Do they have to book?
It's better for people to book
Okay,
because then they know.
Then what numbers do they...
So they go to the www dot mystery, and people must spell it right. MYSTERY, ghost, the normal way, GHOST, and then productions with an S on the end, .co.za. So it's actually quite easy, mysteryghostproductions.co.za, really.
www.mysteryghostproductions.co.za. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you too, Marianah. Lovely seeing you, and in good spirits too.
And you've been so good, even though you've been to Cullinan. And
well, I spend most of my time up there because that's where most of our business is, because we run Cullinan, Johannesburg, Pretoria, and Parys. So those are our 4 major centres. So that's why I'm up there most of the year, and I can very seldom do a tour in PE. But I'm so glad I can do at least one tour for PE.
So am I. And I am, of course, a Pretoria girl. I've had family in Cullinan. My very good friends were Erasmus is from Bronkhorstspruit. It's been so nice. It's taken me back on memory lane, but I'm looking forward to the ghost bus.
No, not the ghost bus, it's the ghost jaunt. The jaunt. J-A-U-N-T.
The ghost car jaunt.
No, when they get to the
into my own car.
Yes, so when they get to the website, they'll see there, it says, there's our online videos, there's our ghost stories around the fire, there's the mystery ghost bus, but they can't go on that unless they're a group of 30 or more, and that's not going to happen in PE anyway. So they can only go on the mystery ghost jaunt, J-A-U-N-T.
Okay, remember it is the joint, and it's www.mysteryghostproductions.co.za. Thank you, Mark. Time for me to say goodbye. Art and entertainment must say goodbye now. Ja, dit is Marianah Lourens wat nou groet met Arrivari.